We start, as always, with Cowboy head basketball coach Mike Boynton. You know, it's interesting, and it was a tough loss at Kansas, but prior to that, 2 days before, you beat Oklahoma at home and really dominated the last 3 quarters of the game. The last 2 years, there have been some challenges late in January, but you've improved in February. That's not true of a lot of teams that go through some tough times in January. Why have you been able to do that? That happened your first year, too. Kept getting better in February no matter what was going on.
Well, the part of that is by design. Not that we want to have a dip in January, but the point of becoming a better team as the season goes along is part of the process for us. Eventually, we want to be more consistent throughout the schedule, but you always want to be playing your best basketball as the season ends because that's when more eyes are on you, there's more pressure to perform and things of that nature, and it obviously has a lot to do with where you go postseason. But the credit goes to our players. They brought in to just continue to chop wood, as we talked about before, and not get discouraged by some of the results along the way, but stick to the process of working hard, having a good attitude, taking scouting seriously and improving. We've got a lot of young guys playing that are getting better, and that bodes well as we continue to move forward and build this program where we believe it can go.
There are 3 regular season games left, 2 at home, and then, of course, obviously the Big 12 tournament and beyond. For this team to surge here at the end, what things do you think will be most important?
Well, I think we've got to make sure that we don't get away from the identity that we've established in February, which is we're an inside-out team and more inside than out team, and we've got to continue to establish who we are inside the paint. We've got to continue to be good defensively, save for, obviously Kansas was a unique matchup. They are for most teams, but we've guarded at a pretty high level for about 3.5 weeks now. We've got to continue that as we finish the last week and a half of the regular season and into the conference tournament and see where we can go from there.
Would you have imagined back in, say, late November that this would be your identity offensively, that you would go pretty extreme to being a team that attacks at the rim versus shooting more threes, or what'd you think? Were you thinking that way?
I didn't really give it much thought about being a team that can dominate inside, just because we don't have Udoka Azubuike, so to speak. And even against them, I think we only shot 12 threes, and really in a lot of ways, you got to make some shots from outside to win in Lawrence. It's always been the case. That was the case when we won there. My first year as head coach. But what you have to do as a coach is you have to identify how your team has success. And you can't be stubborn to the numbers that show you that we're not a great three-point shooting team. We're much better if we attack inside the paint, get ourselves to the free throw line, and then shoot threes as a secondary option, particularly when 2 of your best three-point shooters haven't shot it even to the degree which they can. Thomas is still hovering around 40%. Lindy's numbers have been down a little bit, and so we've had to adjust how we play on the fly, and I think this team has done a pretty good job adjusting. It's just that we're trying to do it against the best competition in the country every night.
Seems your most consistent player has been Cam McGriff. He scored in double figures in 9 straight games for the first time in his career. What's been the key to his success during this last 3 to 4 weeks?
Well, what we talked about establishing who we are inside, Cam has led the charge in that regard. Obviously, throughout the course of his career here, he's shown an ability to make threes, but that's never been the best thing that he does. And sometimes he's gotten caught up in spending too much time on the perimeter. Well, for the last really month or so, he's really established who we are. He has. And he's really taken the bull by the horns in terms of leading the charge on how we want to play, because he's gotten to the free throw line. He's rebounded the ball at a pretty high level on both ends of the court. And because of his buy-in, the game has rewarded that work and that commitment by giving him an opportunity to have individual success through this stretch.
The game with Iowa State is Senior Day. You're doing that on Saturday as opposed to Wednesday against Kansas State so that families can easily attend. So Senior Day for this group. Your thoughts on this group and what have they meant to you in the program?
Yeah, Senior Day is incredibly important to me. It's an opportunity for me personally to thank our young men who've put a lot of time into what we're trying to build. This particular group will be very special as I look back on my career, however many years it is from now. They've given me an opportunity to establish who I want to be as a head coach. They were the first group of guys who really said, we believe in you and we're going to stick this thing out. They had opportunities to leave, certainly after their freshman year when I was named the head coach. But then after their sophomore years and certainly after their junior years when things didn't go so well, they've represented Oklahoma State basketball in a first-class manner in every way possible. Whether it be as students, they're all going to graduate. They're all going to leave here with invaluable experiences and relationships with not only one another, but with the people in our community. And I think it's important that as many fans show up as possible. It's a midday on Saturday, great time for people to come up here from different parts of the state and even from out of state and be able to get back home on Saturday evening, just to tell those guys how much we appreciate the sacrifices they've made to give our program a chance to continue to move forward.
So your opponent will be Iowa State, a team that beat you in Ames. But Iowa State's been an interesting team. They've had some great wins at home. They hammered Texas and Oklahoma at home, but they have struggled on the road. Now they're without their best player, Tyrese Halliburton, who's out for the year with a broken wrist. What have they been like without Halliburton? How have they adapted?
They're kind of doing point guard by committee here. And they've had some guys emerge. Rasir Bolton, who played well against us in Ames, has been pretty consistent for them. But Trey Jackson has been another guy who's gotten better. Solomon Young, who absolutely torched us down there, is a guy that they've gone to a lot more. But just like a lot of teams who have been up and down, they've had trouble on the road finding success, and we need to put pressure on them early and try to get off to a good start so at least from a psychological standpoint, they don't feel like that this is the opportunity for a breakthrough.
Stay with us. Casey Kendrick and Coach Jim Littell talk Cowgirl basketball when we return.